Morning, Albert. Thank you so much for being with us. We have quite a few very serious things to talk about this morning, but first I just want to resolve one thing. Go to the expert. You were born and raised in Greece. How do you pronounce this new variant? Big question on the front page of WSJ, the journal this morning.
Omicron.
Omicron, okay.
But you can't find a better way of saying it.
Okay. It's resolved. That's it. We've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get down to business. Can you give us the latest intel on what you and Pfizer understand about this variant? How severe is the illness that it can wreak?
There are a few things that we know, and we are getting more and more information. But the key three things that they are still, we haven't made, let's say, conclusions, but they are solid. One is the clinical manifestation of this virus, of this variant. It means, looks like transports faster, looks like it's milder, but we don't know yet. We need to wait to see, because there are a lot of variants that are playing. We don't know if in South Africa, for example, people that they seems to have a lot of this disease, they were having Delta infections before. And also they are younger people. Only 5% of the population is more than 60. On the other hand, a lot of them, they have HIV, so you expect to see higher percentages of more severe disease. So there are a lot of unknowns that we need but we will know, unfortunately, within a few weeks, because now we have, let's say, cases in dozens. In a few weeks, we will have in millions. So I think we will have a good understanding, let's say, before the year end, as to what exactly it means for clinical manifestation.
So I think people the idea that it would be spread faster, but be potentially even milder, that is being heralded as possibly a good thing, that we could end up with higher immunity, natural immunity. Does that make sense?
No, I don't think it is good news.
That's why we have the expert.
Yeah, I don't think it's good news to have something that spreads fast. Spreads fast means that will be in billions of people. Another mutation may come. You don't want that. But doesn't mean that we don't have, let's say, the means to control it right now, and we need to wait to see how things are evolving.
So talking about the means to control it, I think you said that late November you started working on a vaccine on this that could target this particular variant. Is that's still underway?
It is, and I think that if there is a need for the vaccine, we will have a vaccine in March. I don't know if there will be a need for a vaccine. We will know that in a few weeks. What we need to do to understand if there is a need for a vaccine, it is to see if the current one is providing an umbrella of protection, that it is solid enough.
Which is preferable.
Which is way preferable, of course. You don't want to go to a new one for many reasons. You don't want to go to a new one, not only because it complicates things, but you don't want to go to a new one because the more you go away from the original, the Wuhan, let's say, the original, the wild type strain, the more, for several reasons, is not good for the epidemiology of the virus. But nevertheless, we don't know if we need one. We will know in a few weeks. The conclusions, we can see it only holistically. The first data points that will come will be in the lab. If the blood of people that have been vaccinated with 2 doses or with 3 doses, and also we will test a beta vaccine that we have and also a delta vaccine that we have. They don't circulate,
how effective the
but
current
we
vaccine
have them,
is?
yes. And we will see how effective it is in the lab. And the first tests will come with what we call a pseudovirus, not as accurate of a test, but fast. The second wave, after a couple of weeks later of that, will be with a real virus. This is very accurate. But also the final and will come from countries that they have good monitoring systems. Israel, I suspect, will be the first country that will provide solid data that they will tell us real-world efficacy. If the current vaccinated people, they have a difference compared to the unvaccinated people, 2 doses compared to 3 doses, wane of immunity, etc.
I want to come back to Israel, but first, in terms of having this extra vaccine, how would it work? Like right now, I think your expectation is that people, you've said it would be like an annual booster.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to put this vaccine in place, would it be like next year people would get 2 shots?
Mm-hmm. We don't know yet.
You don't know.
We don't know yet. It could be that first of all, I repeat, it could be that we don't need one.
Right.
And we will know. The good news is that if we need one, we will have one.
And isn't it become almost
And if we have one in March, just to
war?
answer, I don't know if we will need just one booster on what already we had, or you need to go from the beginning. That will be the worst case scenario, but you need to start the whole series again. We don't know that.
Okay. So what about the oral medication that you are working on, Paxlovid? I mean, that, I think you have a higher confidence that that would fight any variant? Is that it's a different kind of science?
Yeah, we have very, very high level of confidence that we'll fight this variant and all the ones that we have seen so far. The reasons are because most of the mutations are happening in the spike protein.
Right.
This is the reason why vaccines that they are working on the spike protein, or treatments like antibodies that they are working on the spike protein, we need to assess if it still works or not. The oral medication that we have, which is a protease inhibitor, doesn't work in the spike. Works by inhibiting a protease that is vital for this virus. It's very difficult for the virus to create a strain that can live without this protease, so that when we inhibit it, doesn't affect it. It's not impossible, it's very difficult. But we know that those mutations, they don't affect that at all.
Right.
So we have very, very high level of confidence with the current variants. The treatment that we have should work,
And
the same level.
I think it was supposed to be delivered by the end of this year. And what's realistic for regular people to think that they could get that in their pharmacy? Like how far are we away from that?
Let's manage expectation will be not in the old quantities, but this year. I think we have submitted to FDA our applications. FDA is reviewing. FDA would like to see the final data also from our study. There was a surprise because of the Merck's compound
Right.
that
the
final numbers they created a change. I don't expect in our case that this will be the case, and we will have the data soon. So we will submit, let's say, soon to FDA. Let's say it's a matter of a couple of weeks, the whole thing. And we have already, I think I posted even some in tweets, that quantities from Germany, in Freiburg, we are producing, have been shipped to the US. So we will have quantities in the US if it is approved this month.
So you'll have it, and then what is the timetable till it actually can be starting to be prescribed by doctors? And
no, I think if it is approved and we have it, could be the next day. We will not have millions this month. We will have thousands. We will have hundreds of thousands in January. We will have millions in the first quarter.
10 million is the deal with the U.S. government?
10 million is the deal with the government all the way to the end of the year. The total production that we are having right now, it is 80 million treatments.
Okay.
We could scale it up if there is a need even more. So we are waiting to see how those things will play.
So coming back to, you mentioned Israel as the place where it has the data, and you've called it the place with the most reliable data. What do you think about the fact that the United States isn't ranked up there in your mind? What have we not done right here in terms of data?
But look, I mean, it's a little bit unfair because here is a way bigger country. Sometimes that creates way higher complexities, of course. But on the other hand, also, Israel is not an average 10 million people country. They know how to respond in crisis very well because of the situation they are living. They have electronic data, medical data records for almost everyone, 99% of their population. And they took it very seriously, so they continued collecting information no matter if they had controlled the disease. So they were the first ones to get vaccinations. They were the first ones to control really the disease. You remember in March, they were going out in L'Chaim and L'Chaim Pfizer.
I mean, when we go back in the history and look at this, will failure to handle data better in this country, hospitalizations?
I wouldn't call it failure. I think that the complication of the U.S. healthcare system and maybe some decisions not to invest that much in testing could have been different, the decisions in the beginning. I think people realized.
Is that one of the things we'll look back on and say, had we gotten our testing regimen better sooner?
I think one of them was sooner and then constantly. So when, for example, we started seeing the waning of immunity, it was so clear in other countries, and we are having some hesitations here because we didn't have the data to demonstrate it here. It's not that was not happening, we didn't have the data to demonstrate it. And that's, you can't wait to have a lot of bodies to demonstrate something. You need to be able to predict it with data and act in periods of crisis before you have that situation, which is what others did. UK also was not that bad. Also, they did quite a good job on this.
So in terms of learning lessons, one of the biggest tragedies really from this incident is the divide between the have and have-not countries in terms of vaccinations. And certainly people are not laying that all on the feet of Pfizer, but what do you feel like the resourced world, your company and broadly, could have done better and should be doing better?
I think that I'll tell you what we did well and what I think we could have done better.
Okay.
What we did well was that we priced it at the levels that everybody could get it. The high-income countries, they got the price of, let's say, takeaway meal, but the middle-income countries, they got it at half of this price. The low-income countries, they got it at cost. And we agreed with the US government as a sponsor to buy 1 billion doses from us at cost and give it completely free to only the 92. So that's why I think we did well. The second thing that I think we did well was that we ramped up manufacturing to a level that no one thought that we could, so that instead of trying to resolve it with an or, who gets, to resolve it with an and. Everybody gets. So we ramped up this.
Take that question out of the equation.
Take the question, who is getting. And in the first half, clearly, higher income countries were getting way more than the lower income countries. The second half, that reversed. Now we have a situation that a lot of the countries in Africa, for example, they ask us to stop sending anymore.
Because they can't process it.
Because they can't process it. This is where I think we could have done even us better. I could have foreseen it and asked ourselves to partner earlier with NGOs on the ground to start running educational campaigns, to start trying to create infrastructure. We did things, for example, I'm sure you have seen, we have a project that we are using drones to transfer and drop vaccine supplies in remote areas. We should have done it better. Many other organizations should have done it better on that. I was very pleased to see today that WHO Secretary Tedros said that he appoints someone that will focus exclusively on that, creating the infrastructure on the ground for countries to be able to create to fight hesitancy and create infrastructure to do it. So I think that's something that we could have done also ourselves better.
Fair enough. Okay. So we're here in Washington, and you've been part of what Senator McConnell called last night this modern medical miracle. How much goodwill has this engendered for you on Capitol Hill?
I think it's created tremendous will with the American people. As a result, tremendous will with the Capitol Hill, because that goes very much in sync. But I would think that easy come, easy go.
How long did it last?
So I think if we just think because we got it high, we can now relax, that's a very big mistake. We should continue earning the trust of the average American, and as a result, the support of the average politician every day.
This Build Back Better bill, it has some of the most significant expansion of drug price regulation in decades. Mm-hmm. You've called part of it price fixing. I mean, mm-hmm. Are you okay with where that landed, the House bill, in terms of the new price controls, or you feel it's gone too far?
No, I think it's gone too far. There are a few things that I'm really very happy to see in this bill, and those are relaxation of the out-of-pocket. The problem with drug pricing, real problem with drug pricing in this country, in America. It is not the cost of drugs to the healthcare system. This is 12% of the total cost. So by definition, cannot be the big problem, and actually it's going down the last few years. The big problem is the cost of drugs to when you go to get them from the out-of-pocket to the person, not to the individual. And right now, the way that the system works, it's almost like for your drugs, you don't have insurance. You pay everything from your pocket, or the vast majority, although you have a very good insurance. The fact that in this bill, they are putting a cap on Medicare, and actually they are going to smooth it, it's very, very, very positive. Now, the fact that they are putting provisions that it is, they call it negotiation, it's price fixing. It is that the Secretary of Health can say this is the price, and if you agree, it's fine. If you don't agree, you're fine 96%. Yeah, nice negotiation, right? So it's not. I think
that's
it's wrong.
Only for like some medicines that have been
It is for some medicines. It is not for all.
Without generic competition. I mean, supposedly giving you at least like
even
a decade to make a return.
Yeah, but even before they go, before patent exclusivity. So I think it's wrong. But nevertheless, my view is that I prefer if we can have something that will. I hate because of that provision not to see the bill, because I think the provision of the out-of-pocket for the American people, it's a very, very big deal, and it's a much-needed reform. So I think we will continue working with Congress to try to make sure that we have. I never advocated, and I will not advocate for no reforms. I don't like status quo. Unacceptable, I think. We want changes. We are just discussing the direction of some of these changes. So we'll work productively to see what we can come with.
Right. So let's stay on policy for a minute. Last night, Senator McConnell was very articulate against vaccine mandates, saying it's just not the right time in the economy for businesses. And at the same day that Mayor de Blasio put this down for private businesses, vaccine mandate, where do you stand?
I think there are two ways to see it. One is a political way, and the other is a public health policy way. The political way, unfortunately, has been politicized. We all know it. So it's a political statement. You wear a mask, likely you're a Democrat. You don't, likely you're a Republican, right? So ridiculous. That's not about political affiliation. It's about health and best scientific practices. I think that it's a little bit controversial, the mandate, because some people, they feel they react even stronger to the mandate, but also on the other hand, it works. And many countries now are seen so big. I was, for example, speaking with the Greek Prime Minister the other days, and he told me that they put a mandate. Actually, they put mandate if you don't get vaccinated and you're above 60 years old, 100 euros per month penalty.
It's a fine.
It's a fine. That's how it works in Europe. And he told me, I can't take it anymore. Our hospitals are full of the intensive care units. We have to postpone elective surgery. So we need to push it. Now, as I said, this country has a different culture. It's more free spirits. Not that the Greeks are not, but right, yeah. But they have the same problems.
Well, let's ask the room. So, vaccine mandates, yay or nay? Who's for them here? Okay. Nays? We got a couple. Maybe we'll hear from you guys in the questions. But in any event, it's pretty clear consensus here on this.
Yeah, it is. Because they work. I've seen it. Even at Pfizer, we had to make a mandate to ask our people. And although we were at 90%, but this 90 was not moving. And it moved to 97%.
You got it up to what?
97. Vaccinated. So it's a very big deal.
Okay, we're going to go to questions in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit more about the scientific breakthroughs and what they mean for the future. Can you give us a sense of your hopes for what the learning from mRNA will mean for cancer, other infectious diseases, or rare diseases?
Yeah. Look, mRNA is very powerful technology. I think we are scratching the surface. I think we are having the first demonstration of an effective product with the vaccines. and that is with a modified RNA. There are other programs that us and many other companies are running for other vaccines. There are other programs that many companies are running for cancer, years now. And also there are other forms of RNA that are even more advanced than modified RNA, which is the next generation, like self-amplifying RNA, or let's say circular RNA. There are a lot of these type of technologies. Very revolutionary. But just to understand, it's just one of the revolutionary technologies. It's not going to be the only one and will not work for everything. We have gene therapies. We have, there are gene editing. There are so many things that are happening and they are very revolutionary right now. The thing that people need to understand it is that we are entering a decade of a scientific renaissance. It is not only the advancements in biology, but it is the fact that advancements in biology in synergy with advancements in technology and tremendous computational power, they are creating synergistic effects that were unimaginable in the previous decade. So I think we will see significant advancements because of that.
And you've positioned your company to be focused on...
I think we're very well positioned as a company.
As opposed to like generics or consumer products at this point.
I think science, it is what will be the name of the game. Everything is needed, right? Is consumer product needed, generic
but
product
for Pfizer?
Needed. For Pfizer, we are focusing only on science. This is very clear. All forms of science that can create breakthroughs that change patients' lives. Our purpose is breakthroughs that change patients' lives. That gives already a magnitude of the ambition. So we are not looking for incremental improvements.
Yeah.
Breakthroughs that change patients' lives. And that will come with science.
It's nice to hear breakthroughs with a positive connotation. So let's see, are there any questions here? Right here. We have a mic.
Thank you, Baldas from BGD Holding. First, let me thank you for what Pfizer has done. I was curious to get your thoughts on the last point you made about the synergy between biology, technology, computing in the context of distributed innovation. Yours is a 100-year-old company partnered with a startup, BioNTech. From the standpoint of bioethics, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, distributed innovation, bioethics.
Yeah. It's an excellent question, and we're a 172 years company, founded in New York. And biotech is way more younger company. And the real reasons why the thing was so successful was because we partnered like equals. We didn't think we are Goliath and they are David, and they didn't think this way. So we were equals, and we just allocated our resources. I spoke about technology powering biology, and the COVID development in our case, and the treatment wouldn't be possible if we wouldn't put substantial investments in digital the years before. The COVID was able to do the study very quickly because we had digitized to a very high degree all our operations in clinical development. And to go even more, let's say, inspirational, from March of 2020, when we started the treatment program, the oral, until the July of 2020, 4 months, we had synthesized and tested 600 different molecules. But eventually we selected the one that we are now seeing. That happened because everything happened with computers. It was dramatic computational power that we used, and I think we have some of the biggest computational powers in the industry right now. So now, the ethical, or let's say the bioethics, the time that the science was happening in small selected places is over. It used to happen in the Ivy Leagues or in 5 big pharmas, the Mercks, the Pfizers of the world, etc. It made sense at that time because science was not so diverse at that time. For example, cholesterol, we knew is the target when it comes to heart diseases. And statins, one of the most prominent ways to address it. So it made sense for Pfizer or Warner Lambert to invest in statins. Now for heart diseases, we have a zillion of known targets, biological targets. And for each one of them, zillion technologies that can go after them. So placing singular bets will never give anything. We need to be part of a biotech ecosystem that needs to flourish in the country. And then you need to be able early to partner with them, as we did with BioNTech, and bring the scale that is needed so those technologies can come way faster, way more effective, produced at scale, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but you can ask me on the corridor.
Okay, we're about time, but just want to end with this. We're at the end of 2021. Do you think we're ever going to get to a day, and if so, what year do you think it might be, where the scourge of this disease is not hanging over our every thought and plan? When do you think we'll get back to living where it's not the main things on our mind weighing us down?
I like the way you ask it, because many people are asking when COVID will not exist. I don't think we will see that soon. But influenza, flu exists, right? Still, we live our lives. We don't live with flu in mind every day. I think we will reach that level pretty soon. And I think there are so many the tools that we have developed, so powerful vaccines, so powerful treatments, 90% effective in treatment. They are unheard things before. So once we get people vaccinated, once we get politics out of the equation, once that happens, that's the small problem. That's why treatments, unfortunately, will be needed, because it will never happen to 100%. But we can live normal lives. Normal lives means that you can go to restaurants, you don't need to wear masks and suffocate every day, and all of that. I think these things will come, and I think will come in a year. I don't think next year, absent a variant that changes everything. I think we were in a good path mid of next year to be having things under good control.
That's hopeful. Thank you so much, Albert. Thorel, back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.